like, this is as a result of something I did.
I personally have never heard that outcome, that mental health has led to a loss of limb.
It was like, is your head always like that? Many things I've spoken to my therapist about. It's so obsessed with like achievements and my self-worth, yet that's like a sick feeling, and stop being able to like breathe properly. I didn't show any of that to anybody. I didn't feel I could talk to them. I need to be that person, that high-performing person that doesn't break. Do you not think you're being a little bit selfish by taking that away from your friends?
For people who don't know that you've had an amputation.
I took an overdose of sleeping tablets, sent a couple of the HR guys around for a welfare check. I'd suffered with complete kidney failure. Then I had that amputation.
Your suicide attempt cost you your leg.
That first step is the most difficult bit to do, and you actually have to take that step to reach out. We put in place just sending an emoji. How does my head convince me of these things, or how has it convinced me? I'm like so lucky for so many reasons. I don't think we've seen the best from you. Yeah, it's like, oh, you're gonna go to the Paralympics. I'm like, do you ask all your able-bodied friends that some more testing with British cycling end of June? Yeah, it's a year.
Oh, Steph, I don't want to use the word inspirational, but Hello and welcome to Becoming Lucy with me, Hannah.
And me, Lucy. So we hear a lot about how people lose limbs from car accidents, illness, things that are completely out of our control. But what we don't talk about is when that loss comes from a battle that someone was fighting in their own mind.
And what happens when survival comes after a moment you never thought you'd come back from.
Today's episode is a big one, not because it's shocking, but because it's honest.
And because this conversation is about something that so many people feel, but don't always have the words for.
And today we're joined by Steph, who has rebuilt her life in a way that challenges what we think and understand, from trauma, resilience, and what it actually means to start again. But more than that, this is a story about pressure, about self-worth, and what happens when your value feels tied to how much you can keep going.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really stayed with us, actually, is how easy it is to recognise so many parts of yourself in this story. The feeling of needing to be on all the time, pushing through, never asking for help. And what happens when it finally catches up with you?
And Steph isn't here to shock anyone. She's here because hearing a story like this might make someone feel a little less alone.
Yep. And we always like to intro our guests and let everyone know how we know them. But actually, we don't know Steph. She has been brought to us by Charlie, and we used to work with Charlie in Salou. And Charlie's listened to our podcast before, and she connected us with Steph, and we couldn't agree more that she is the most perfect person to have on Becoming Lucy. So welcome, Steph, and thank you for appearing on our podcast.
Honestly, thank you for having me. Like, it's really good to meet you guys.
Oh, no, right back at you. And we're very excited to dive into your story. But obviously, we'd like to get to know a little bit about you first. So, yeah.
Yeah. So who were you before Steph? What did day to day look like?
I think you touched upon it earlier in terms of there was always something going on. I've been super active since I was probably early 20s, late teens, and it took like varying forms. I was either, I did a lot of circus aerial before, and then moved on to CrossFit and weightlifting, did a bit of cycling, pre-leg gate. But then and outside of that, it was always work. So I used to be in visual effects, and so I was on the artistic side of things up until 2019. I'm now still working in tech, but I'm on the executive assistant side. But yeah, it was always work or being super active, finding time to be social amongst that, and not having enough hours in the day pretty much for
Oh my
everything.
God. I
Yeah,
think
I
so
can,
many people can
yeah.
resonate with that, can't they? Like, and I think that's the thing. On the outside, then it looked like you had it all and you had it all together, but
Yeah.
inside you were just on this conveyor belt.
Yeah. And I think whilst that's in my head, I'll touch on that. One thing my therapist has recently said to me, which is like, I have so many of these light bulb moments at the minute. I'm like, oh, yeah, that is what my head's doing. And what she said to me, she was like, I think it's for so long because I was doing well, I then told myself that meant I was okay. So I'm like, I'm doing okay. I'm holding down a
Mhm.
job that pays decently. I'm doing well at my job. Like, I'm super active and I'm eating well and I'm seeing my friends. Therefore, that means I'm okay, right? So,
Mhm.
and she was like,
Yeah.
it doesn't, by the way, it does not mean you're okay. And I'm like, yes, I found that halfway.
No, I
Which
can
obviously,
definitely relate as well. I think obviously not as much as yourself, but the only time I used to eat in the car when I was doing like high rocks competition, like it was eating in the car, going to work, getting to the gym. I look back now and I'm having like, obviously now I have like, I had a nap on the sofa today. It's like, I never had this freedom before. Do you know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
how the hell did you cram it all in? And I know you described your self-worth as being tied to an achievement. Can you take us inside to that a little bit more? What is a good day, a bad day? Do you know what I mean? Like, what did your mind look like?
Yes, that's a hard one to say, but I remember I've obviously spoken to friends who have had like issues with the same thing. And I remember one that was saying she had this conversation with her partner once, and she was just literally, it was just a simple conversation about, oh, what are you thinking about? And he was like, oh, nothing really. I'm just sitting here watching TV. She was like, nothing. And he was like, no, why? What's in your head? And she was like, well, this and this, and I'm thinking about this and what happened yesterday and what I've got going on in the next 2 weeks. And he was like, is your head always like that? And she was like, yeah. And he's like, is that not exhausting? And we were just like, yes. It's just like constant white noise and
yeah.
chattering in the
And
background. Like, it's
I,
never quiet in my head.
no, and I think that's something that's like really important to like recognize that like there is no chill time. And even if you're
Mhm.
sat trying to chill, you know, watching telly,
It,
for example, it's like chirping away. And then you have this like guilt of like, I should be actioning my to-do list. I shouldn't be sat watching Maths Australia. Like, but
Me and
I,
Hannah have both done that this weekend.
I think in hindsight, one of the things makes sense is that I've always been really into like a bit of an adrenaline junkie, and so there was always the snowboarding, and I did um various other bits like that, and that's always when my head was quietest. And I remember telling someone once that I did a parachute jump, tandem jump, and I was like, you know, that's the most serene I've ever felt. My head, it was like I was terrified on the ground and in the plane, and as we were going to jump out, and then we jumped out and we're just like dropping at 10,000 meters, and my
Yeah.
head just suddenly went super quiet and calm. And I think it just reached that point where it's like, well, if something goes wrong now, I can't really do anything about it,
yeah,
can we? But it was just that
Mm.
weird moment of just calm. And I'm like, oh, this would be nice if I could feel this without having to jump out of a plane to
yeah.
actually get there.
If I
Yeah.
could do something less
Yeah.
risky, that would be great. But I think that's basically what your body and mind was doing to you, was taking you completely out of your reality, because obviously jumping out of a plane isn't something you do every day, like you just
No.
alluded to. So
Yeah.
it was almost like your brain and your body had a chance to reset just for that moment. And it's like, how can you keep your finger on that button almost? But I also think like this is like devil's advocate, because I am definitely in that space of like million miles an hour in my head, always something to do, always something to think about. And then I get into procrastination mode where I get things done,
Yeah.
but because I don't get enough done, I then self-sabotage, and then I'm like
Yeah.
feel guilty about everything. But I also think that like you said about achievements,
Mm.
when you get this stuff done, it allows you to also then feel the reward almost. Like, so if I get something ordered that I want to get something for the house, and then that arrives and I put it somewhere, like I'm like, well, that's that task done. And look, I love it. I love this plant in my house right now. But for my problem is everything is a to do. Whereas like when I reply to messages, that's a to do, where it should just be like, oh, I'm just replying to messages. But I think that's just my brain so overstimulated that
Yeah.
I've lost the ability to work out what is an actual to do and what is just like
Yeah.
living
A
life.
100%. Like, I had to talk like, one of the things, many, many things I've spoken to my therapist about is that exactly, because I find when I get overwhelmed, the first thing that I shut off from is WhatsApp. Like, I can't reply to messages, I can't reply to people, and I'm
Mhm.
like, "I love you all, I promise. I just can't." Like, when
Yeah,
everything
deal.
is happening, it's just, "Oh, I have to reply to this person, and then I have to reply to this person," and as you said exactly, it stops being something you do simply because you enjoy it, and it's literally just another thing on the
Yeah, it's
to-do
life
list and
admin.
just tips you over the
Yeah.
edge in terms of, "No, I can't do
And and if you go back and listen to our modern day dating episode, this is literally what we were saying. I was like, I would just fail at this because everyone just messages a million times an hour, and I'm just like, I'm just not here for that.
This is
Um,
like, I keep getting told off, like, my friends are like, You need to get back on the dating apps." I'm like, "I can't." Also, my job is admin based, and
yeah,
I then don't wanna come home and do admin online for online dating,
yeah,
Mm,
because that's all it is until I've met them and kind of developed a relationship. I'm like, "It
yeah,
is just admin, and I
yeah.
yeah,
I don't want it."
No. And it's funny though, going back again, I was just thinking before, it is like an addiction though. We kind of covered this on the modern day dating, not for like dating like, well, we did like swiping the next person. But when you're doing all these sporting activities and you've done them, we all know it's like that blues afterwards, don't you? And you're like, well, what do we do next? And the only time you can shut off is when, like you just said, when you're coming out of a plane or
yeah.
maybe you're at that event. But I know you'll be concentrating like, oh, we're hitting this, or do you know what I mean? The pace or whatever you're doing with your cycling, or but again, it's like, well, that's done. What's the next thing? You never sit there, isn't it? And it's like, why are brains so tuned in that we've got to keep going
The
on and
next
keep
thing, the
going
next
next thing?
thing.
The addiction, it's like
Yeah,
And I think
dopamine, isn't
that's
it?
one of the biggest differences between me now and me then, and don't get me wrong, like, it's still a massive work in progress, but it's the whole cliche of enjoying the journey
uh-huh.
more than enjoying the end goal. Don't like, there's definitely goals in there now, like, I have races booked in, I have, like, other, like, big events booked in, but I'm really enjoying training, like, genuinely just enjoying it,
Mm,
as opposed to I'm not every moment thinking, "Oh god, I have to reach this specific goal, and if I
Mhm.
don't, everything's, like, gonna explode, it would have all been a waste." Like, I think what I said to someone recently is I'm going at it in that I just wanna give it everything, know I've
Mhm.
given it everything, and then whatever happens at the end of that, I can be
Yeah,
happy with, as opposed to going, "This is a particular goal, and it has to happen."
yeah,
yeah,
that's
Um,
such a healthy way because I think well anyone can relate. But it's so easy to speak it, isn't it? Until you're in
mhm.
it. And then
yeah.
you're in that environment and, you know, your heart rate's going and you're trying to calm yourself down, your nervous system, and then you just get into your own head and you go out too hot and then it's all gone tits up and then you're in your head again and it's like, oh, I've just trained all this time and I've fucked it up. And but until it's so hard to appreciate. And I think it takes a lot. And is this come from therapy where you've learned is there any tricks? Because I still struggle with it today.
Yeah, share the tips because I think you can add it to anything in life, can't you?
Yeah.
Really, because it's that appreciate in the moment. And we've actually said it a lot on the pod. Like we'll check in with each other and be like, "Can we just appreciate this? It's got 200,000 views and things like that." Because you just
Mhm.
move quickly through, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, where's the next like dopamine hit? And it's like, well, actually, like we never expected this 6 weeks ago. When you guys are
Yeah.
doing the events and the training, you never thought you'd be in that position in the first place. And it's just literally life just zooms past you and you can't slow down. And it's actually taking the moments, like you said, to sit and enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
But hard work, right?
It's really hard work, and I think it's something I'm always gonna have to work on. But it's exactly what you said in terms of making sure you appreciate each moment in relation to where you were. Like, I went out on my first solo bike ride on Sunday, like the first one, I like proper ride, so it was like 25 miles on my own, which I was super nervous about, and it was like a super easy one, but I was beyond chuffed about it. It may not be
Mhm.
anything in comparison to what we have planned, but again, I was so happy with it. And it's reminding myself, like, when I first sat on a bike after I came out of hospital, I could only pedal like 5 times, had to pause and then pedal another 5 times. And then I'm sitting there going, well, regardless of what happens, I'm now sitting pedaling for like 2.5 hours without stopping. So I'm like, in comparison,
Yeah.
that's insane, regardless of the output and what we're
Yeah.
aiming for. Like,
Yeah.
just the journey itself is like, I have to be happy with that. Like,
Yeah.
there is no way I can't.
No, for sure. And I
So,
think, like, literally circling back to kind of before we get into why that is such a momentous occasion, because obviously listeners now are probably thinking, okay, like what's happening? And we want to, we want to really make sure we feed into this because it's such an important part of your journey. So if we circle back to those moments where everyone thought you had it all,
mhm,
inside you're in bits, the pressure was sort of loading on you, and then you had a panic attack at work, right, that you just
yeah.
sort of dealt with on your own. Can you
Yeah.
explain kind of getting to that moment and then what happened with that panic attack?
Well, it's like, and I guess it comes with being like so obsessed with like achievements, and my self-worth was like always, as my therapist and I put it, like surgically attached to my achievements. So it was just trying to prove my usefulness at all points. And with that high performing need, is I remember when I don't even know what set it off, whether there was anything in particular, but I could just feel the panic, like when you get that like sick feeling and
Mm.
stop being able to like breathe properly. Um, and I think I was just at that point then where I'm like, I didn't show any of that to anybody. So I
Oh.
literally just got up from my desk, walked out into the bathroom, laid down on the floor until I could breathe again, and then just went back to work as normal, like once it was all done with. And now I'm like, now I sit back and look and go, it's really shocking that I burnt out of that career, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
and at that point I was working like mostly 7 days a week. I'd do like half days at weekends, getting in early, like I'd do late hours on additional projects. And like, it was amazing. I came out of that career still having friends at that point. I'm not sure how I fit anything else in. Um, but it was like
and
with 3-4 hours sleep and
Yeah.
and did you feel like you had anyone that you could speak to, or was it were you putting the barrier in place thinking if I tell someone how I'm feeling it's all going to come crumbling
Yeah,
down?
or like a
pretty
failure
much
kind of thing.
like it
Yeah.
was entirely self-inflicted. I mean, I think I had one kind of had a bit of a blip in 2018 where I had like, that's when I fully burnt out of that career and had to change and had a bit of a meltdown. And it's like after that and after recently, I've had so many friends and family that just said some were angry and some were just sad that I didn't feel I could talk to them. But it's what you said in terms of I 100% put the barriers in because I don't know quite whether it was pride or whether it
Mm.
was just oh no, but like I need I need to be that person, that high performing person that doesn't break. And I need to be strong enough and I need to be independent and I need to do this. Like, it's like the hyper independence of feeling
Yeah.
like the second I have to reach out and ask for help, I'm then weak. So,
That, and that is, I think, so common. And going back to like our intro, where there is so many people that feel this way, and it's almost like we're talking about it, but it still feels like it's silenced. Do you know what I mean? By ourselves. We are literally sitting openly and honestly as three women saying, "Yeah, I feel that. I feel that." But will I go and seek help? Like, well, no, because obviously, like it is that pride thing, but also like I don't want to put that on anyone else because I don't want anyone else to feel like stressed or
Yeah.
my husband, for example, he's got a hell of a lot going on. So if I'm like, right, can I ask him to do a few bits? I don't want him to feel even more stressed with all the house stuff that he does. So
although one
I'm
thing I will say in response to that, and it was one of those, I think, I mentioned before, like, what I found in therapy is like the honesty in my therapist, like she's glorious, but she will attack me with certain things. And I remember saying to her this, like, so in terms of me not wanting to be a burden like, and the
Yeah.
not being a burden is a huge one for people, and me not wanting to put it on other people and not wanting them to feel like they have to look after me. And she turned to me and she's like, Steph, when your friends are struggling, or even when they just come around to stay with you, do you enjoy looking after them, or do you enjoy making them feel better? I'm like, yes. And she was like, do you not think you're being a little bit selfish by taking that away from your friends, in terms of you taking away the chance for them to do the same to you and to make you feel better and to look after you and make sure you're in a good point? It's like, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe you are right there.
Yeah.
But
Do
it
you
was
think
just
it's a
thinking about it in
time
that
thing
way.
as well? Because you, like you say, you've got no time to do anything. I
Yeah.
think for me, sometimes like I got time to think about that. I haven't got time to speak to that person because I need to crack on to this.
Yeah. And I think, and also like the burden thing is so true, because like I know, like I said, my husband would be absolutely willing to help, vice versa. That's what teamwork does, right? But
Yeah.
it's like that time of, by the time I explain, can you do this? Because then that will help with that. Like Lou said, well, I'll just do it myself. And then obviously, like I said, he's got bits that he does all the bills and stuff. And he probably thinks, by the time I sit and try and tell Hannah how to pay the fucking gas, I'm just going to do it myself. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the way it is, right? And overall, that's what teamwork is. But it's that burden and the fact that you've flipped it on its head, and actually now we're selfish for not allowing our inner circle to like help us more. I'm like, I've never heard that before. I'm conflicted with that, because I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that, but
Yeah,
it does make sense.
it does, because it's like, I know, like, I put on the full hotel experience when people come and stay with me. I love having friends stay with me. I like looking after them. I like doing everything for them when they stay at mine, but then I struggle to let it happen the other way around.
Mm.
And because of that feeling, like, I don't want people to feel like they have to. And then it was like, well, maybe they enjoy looking after people too, as much as I do. And I think I then saw another story on Insta recently that kind of was the exact same thing. And if it was of a young girl that had lost her leg, I think, and her and her friends or her classmates had gone out on a school trip, and they were going up this hill, and all of them took turns in terms of rolling her wheelchair up. And she said she struggled with it. It was the first time she'd had to do that. She felt like a huge burden, like everyone was having to basically carry her up this mountain. And at the end of it, they asked every single person in the class what their favorite moment was, and they were like, getting her to the top of the mountain.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Like,
That's
and
so
that was their
nice.
favorite bit of the day, like, is making sure she got to do what the rest of them did and felt
Yeah.
like part of it. And it's, I'm slowly learning. Like, I was that person that I always like snapped at people when they did too much as well, and didn't ask for help when I was getting used to everything. And I'm slowly trying to learn that actually it does make my friends happier when they feel that I can reach out to them, like, when
Yeah.
I need to.
And
Um,
I think as well, like when you physically can see someone needs help, I think that is more of that kind of like wanting to get that person over the hill or whatever, and whatever metaphor you want to use. Because when you think of just like a to-do list, that is quite a unique to-do list to someone. But where you've got the race or the hill, or I can probably liken it slightly to like parenthood, when you've got a newborn and there's a part of you that wants to keep that newborn on you, because you're just like, I can't release you, like you're like my right arm. But then when you're around people that are just like, just let me help you, and you're like, no, it's fine, I've got this, I can do it all, like I'm meant to be this kid's mother, don't worry about helping me. But actually, when you allow that 5 minutes of help, it just feels so light. But it's so hard to just go, yeah, okay, I will accept that help. And
yeah.
it was just those little moments then. And as I was going through parenthood, I would allow that more often. Like I'll be with my friends and they'd be like, oh, let me just help you with the pram and the dog. And I'm like, oh no, it's fine. I do this all the time. They're like, yeah, but you do it on your own when you have to. But there's 6 of us here. Just let one of us take the dog. I'm like, oh, oh yeah, actually, why? Like that, it's actually worth me saying no. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I do it all the time, 80% of the time, but the 20% of the time that we're together, why don't I just allow that help? Do you know what I mean? But I think physically, I feel like that's an easier thing to say yes to
Yeah.
than a mental load, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah,
Do you get what I
definitely.
mean?
Yeah, I do. Um,
Right. Yeah. God.
and like
Honestly.
it's because it's more on you as well, and you actually have to take that step to reach out and tell people like when you are struggling. And I mean, that's again something, I mean, I've had no other option than to get better at that. And I think over the last year, I've been trying, like, working hard to do that, even just because I had so many friends that reached out and was like, look, even if it's just the fact you need a call or you just need to upload things or just talk to someone, just message. Like, we even got to the point where we put in place just sending an emoji. We all agreed on one emoji, that if I was struggling, I just had to send that one emoji.
Yeah.
And then they could respond with a, right, what do you need? Do you need a call? Do you need me to come round to your flat to be with you? Because we were like, and it's like, you sit there and you go, it shouldn't be that bloody hard to talk to people. Like, the fact that we're having to come up with, like, right, you just send us one little picture
Was it an
and then we
aubergine?
can turn around and be like, right,
Did you
we'll
make it
come up
fun?
with the plan. And I'm like, really? It's got to the stage where I literally just have to send an emoji, but it kind of worked, and it gets easier from that. Because I think for me as well, what I sometimes find overwhelming, as you said, in like similarly with the time aspect, it's like, right, how do I put it into words in terms of I've then got to figure out how to word this whole essay of how I'm feeling and why it is a bit of a struggle and what do I need, then it becomes such a big thing that I then probably won't do it because I don't
Yeah.
even know where to start. Whereas if you do something like that, going, this is like my little, I
Yeah.
need something signal, and then we can all as a group work out what it is that needs to be
Yeah.
done from that. It's like, 'cause sometimes it is just a handhold. Like, if you're struggling, I just need someone to listen, and then we can figure it out. It's not necessarily some huge crisis that needs a massive amount of work, but it's
Yeah.
just that one step. It's with everything. That first step is the most difficult bit to do.
No, definitely. And just to make it a little bit clearer for our listeners now, because obviously we've kind of talked about the mental side, we've kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
hinted on the physical side,
Yeah.
but you've been very open and honest about, I mean, for people who don't know, that you've had an amputation, and that unfortunately came after an event, well, a suicide attempt from
Yeah.
yourself, because where you were struggling, obviously, mentally. So I think it's important that we talk about that honestly,
Mhm.
because it's not something we hear about enough. I know you put in your notes again that there was even somebody in the hospital with the same kind of thing. I've never heard of this before. I was blown away. So can you talk us through what was going on for you at that time, if you feel
Yeah, I
comfortable that
think
led to that? Yeah.
it's one of those hard ones. For me, it was not one big kind of trigger. I think it
Mm.
was just so many little things over years and such a long time of what's probably bad coping mechanisms
Mhm.
and um all of this. And it just got to a stage where I think it was a build up. On the one hand, I think I was just so exhausted, like bone tired from feeling like I was fighting my own head all the time. And I think it gets to that stage where, and again, it's the highlight reel. You don't see everything everyone else is going through, but to all intents and purposes, you look at other people, I'm like, they don't seem to be struggling with this quite as much
Mhm.
as I am. Like, what's going on in my head? Why can't I cope with these things like everybody? And so it gets to the point where I'm just like, I was tired of that. And it was just where I think my head just stopped reacting rationally. I couldn't really see a way out of it in terms of getting better. And again, there's always that additional of just feeling like you're more of a burden than a
Mhm.
use to people. Um, so it was kind of a lot of those really. I think it's weird in that I think there was just a shut off as well. Like, what I've realized since, it's like when the emotions are that difficult, I do have
Yeah.
a tendency to just shut them off. And I think this is what I've spoken to my therapist about, in that I was talking to her and saying when I was really low, I feel really disconnected. So I feel super disconnected, even from the people that I love and the things I enjoy. And she was like, yeah, that's just because you shut your emotions off. And therefore that automatically creates this big barrier from everything. And yeah, so then
I mean, it's one of the, we've just been obviously talking a lot about mental health and bringing us up to this situation now that you're, gently explaining. And it is just mind blowing that your brain can send you into so much of a spin
yeah,
that you attempted to take your own life. And
yeah.
obviously, thank God you're sat here with us today talking about it, rather than being on the other side. Um, and are you able to explain kind of like the hours leading up to what you did, and if you can remember, because you just said you were completely disconnected, is it a blur? Did you sort of wake up from something? Like, if you can explain that to us, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, so it is one of those where I kind of do feel like my memory is slightly affected from it in terms of the previous few days. Because initially I was just like, it makes sense that, so basically on Monday morning or the Sunday evening, I took an overdose of sleeping tablets, and then I was pretty much fairly out of conscious in my flat for the next couple of days. So, like, obviously makes sense. I don't remember those couple of days. Um, and then luckily work just knew that was not normal. Because there were meetings I lead, various other bits. So then they sent a couple of the HR guys around for a welfare check, at which point they could then call for an ambulance. And I think what we found afterwards, what I realised made so many people angry, is that they had initially rung the police, and the police had said to them, well, there's no risk of life, so we're not going to do a welfare check.
Oh,
We were
wow.
like, well, that wasn't the case, was it?
Yeah, thank God for
Um,
your work. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I'm really lucky. I work for very, very decent company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're incredible. I mean, again, one of the worst things coming out of this is a feeling of guilt for so many reasons. And like after that, I was like, okay, this was 100% the worst day at work these guys have ever had. But again, as someone said to me, they were like, yeah, but they know you're okay now. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't, you can't beat yourself up with that. I can imagine that feeling, and it must have been emotional turmoil for you. But I'm sure through your therapy, you don't harbor that anymore, because you'll end up in the same position, right? You'll end up in that head of yours where you're just beating yourself up,
yeah.
and being a burden, which is what led you to this situation. So your HR colleagues came round, they did the welfare check, they found
Yeah.
you sort of like in and out of consciousness then, is that what they told you?
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's one thing, like, and I'm still not sure kind of what it was, but the fact that I was at home for like, it was Wednesday that they came round. So that was like 2, 3 days. Um, So again, I'm just lucky my body was strong enough to deal with it for that long for them to come round. And at that point, I'd suffered with complete kidney failure. So they weren't working at all when I went into hospital. Um, and I assume it's from where I had the long lie in the wrong position that it had cut off circulation to my left leg.
Right. Okay. That makes.
So I started suffering with rhabdo, which is the muscle tissue breakdown. And I think that in turn led to sepsis, and I had compartment syndrome. So I think so I was in hospital on Wednesday, and I think from what I've been told, a couple of the teams were arguing over whether to amputate or not. And it was just decided that was the best way of keeping me as healthy as possible, and then what was left as healthy as possible. So I'm glad they made that decision at the end of the day, because I know like everything I have left is now like very healthy. The tissue is healthy. And it was on the Friday then I had that amputation, but I was in hospital for a month. Like, ironically, the leg healed really well. It was my kidneys that had everyone terrified. So I was in Southmead in Bristol for a month. 2.5 or 3 weeks out of that, I just wasn't peeing at all. So it was kind of just a waiting game. And even the doctors were saying, they were like, at this point, we can't pinpoint whether or not they will kick back in. At this point, we are literally just playing chicken with your kidneys and
Wow.
seeing if they do something and remember that they're supposed to be doing something. So I was on dialysis at that point, and I think that was the bit that had me scared for quite a while, because up until the last few days, like, they couldn't tell me whether or not I'd need ongoing dialysis, and that would have meant going into hospital 3 times a week.
Yep.
Um,
Complete,
um,
obviously, quality of life would change
yeah,
massively, which is crazy to sit here and say, because again, just to recap for listeners, your suicide attempt cost you your leg. Because of, like you said, the way that you were laying, the way that obviously you were in and out of consciousness, you weren't able to obviously move. I personally have never heard that outcome, that mental health has led to a loss of limb. And obviously, absolutely, when you were at your absolute rock bottom, you never thought you'd come out with that, as well as potential 3 times a week kidney, dialysis. When you were in that hospital, then you'd kind of come round to what had happened and what you had done. Mentally, how were you coping with this? Because you were coming out of a really traumatic stage from a mental health perspective. You've lost your leg. You were currently on dialysis. And like you said, they didn't know what to do with your kidneys. How the fuck were you dealing with all of this?
I mean, it was a very slow process, and I had a lot of friends asking this. I mean, I know, considering this is one of those where it almost makes me angry. Is like, how does my head convince me of these things, or how has it convinced me? Because I had friends so I moved from London to Bristol 3 years ago. Um, and I had friends that when they knew I was in hospital, they literally drove from London to Bristol in the morning, spent the day with me, and then drove back to London in the evening. And I'm like, if you have people willing to drive for 8 hours in a day to come and see you. And whilst I was in hospital for a month, I had my mum or dad by my bedside for 7, 8 hours, like the whole visiting time, every single day for that entire month. There was not a single day where I didn't have someone sat by me for the entire day. And I know a lot of people do not have that. So I'm like so lucky for so many reasons. And I had a lot of friends obviously asking me about, obviously wanting to know how I was feeling at that point, not necessarily in a poking way, but in just a, right, so how do you feel that you're still here? And I'm like, in all honesty, I don't feel any way about it. Like, I'm not upset that I've woken up, but I can't say I'm ecstatic at the same time. It was just a big feeling of like emptiness at that point. And I think a mixture of, one, obviously coming around from the fact that I had completely shut myself off like emotionally before that, but then at the same time, like, something trauma like that takes it out of you mentally.
Yeah.
Um, like, it's just mentally exhausting. So I think I was just a bit shell shocked at that point. So I think I was just getting by on my brains. Well, we we've just kind of got to get on with it at this point. This situation. I think I was in ICU, and for like a few days post-op, it was really weird. And then my brain was just kind of like, well, cool, this is just the next thing on the to-do list, and we're just gonna carry on with this, which got me through until obviously I then had some really good chats with a couple of friends of mine that came to spend some time with me. And I think one of them, I was just talking to her for the whole day. She came and just rolled me around for the day whilst outside, because we were lucky at the time of year. It was quite warm. But I remember her talking to me about it, and we both like agreed that just the luck meant something in terms of it being a second chance as well. And I think she just turned around to say to me, she was like, I don't think we've seen the best from you. Yeah, I think we've got a lot left to see from you. Um, and it was just a lot of really good conversations. And then I think it was just reaching that point where you have to make a decision. And I was like, I was just sat in the hospital bed. I'm like, right, so if I do get out and I'm fine, like, I don't want to go through this again. And I don't want everybody else to, and weirdly, whilst I was in hospital, it was the other way around. My initial thing was, I don't want everyone else to go through this again. And I said this to someone once, they were like, should it not be, we don't want you to go through this again? And I'm like, yes. So we've switched that around. But didn't want any of us to have to deal with that level of trauma again. And I was like, if I don't want to go through that again, I actually have to put the effort in. You can't rely on other people to make you feel better and to sort out what's going on in your head. You kind of have to do it yourself. So it was very much as soon as I was out, it was finding a therapist. And again, I'm lucky. I have like good health insurance with work. So therapy is covered. So I had the luck of being able to kind of find a very good private therapist, and she's a godsend. And it was one of those where I met up with one therapist and she was lovely, got on with her, and then she was like, I don't think I'm the right person for you. And it's kind of that gutting feeling at first going, oh God, I just kind of want to get on with sorting my head out. And then it was kind of, again, weirdly meant to be in terms of them found my current therapist. I'm like, okay, I'm glad that previous one didn't work because you're kind of perfect to me, down to the fact that she does art therapy. I've always been into art, always done watercolors, always done everything. So it kind of works out really well.
I think I need a number. I got so, as you can see my eyes when you were talking, but I think obviously I'm not on the extremes of you, but I could probably relate to some of the things like you say when your friends are showing up and the feelings of feeling numb and then just like cracking on and it's the next stage. And obviously not to take anything from the story, I think I just took myself back when I heard I could possibly lose a limb again, like on the second time when I got told, and that kind of shock feeling when I wasn't on the drugs as much and you're not kind of as numb to what's going on. And, I was offered therapy when I came out. And again, she was lovely, but it didn't do anything. And I think, it's just, we've spoke about it before, just finding that right therapist. And
Yeah, it's
honestly,
100% the
give
right.
me a number because I love art as well. I need to get creative. I'm like, how like processing all of that is just
It
absolutely.
does sound like this could be good because you're combining that. And we've talked about on previous episodes as well, you've got to be ready to approach therapy. Like, when you go through trauma in your life, you can take the horse to water, but you actually have to be ready to take that literal step. So that
It's
combined with the
hard.
perfect therapist, when you find that, perfect combination, but you have to be ready. And obviously for you, Steph, you were literally at literal rock bottom and you made
Mm.
that perspective shift. You told yourself this is it now, and that therapist that was your time. Because let's be honest, with everything we've spoken about before, you could have done with seeing a therapist for years, literally, like,
True.
we've just
Could have saved myself a lot of problems. No, you're fine.
I think we might not have got to this part of the story had you seen a therapist,
Yeah.
but it doesn't matter how much someone from the outside can see you need it. It is only you that can take that step to see a therapist. So, that was the moment that you knew you needed her, and it's led you to, the life that you're
Yeah,
leading now. And yeah.
yeah, and I would say, like, in terms of the therapy point of view, like, I know a lot of my friends see one, like, whether it's a counselor or a full psychiatrist or whatever. But I remember saying to them now, it's like, it's kind of like my little preachy bit. But I genuinely think it benefits everyone. I think one of the big misconceptions is people are like, oh, I'm not massively messed up. I don't need to see a therapist. I'm like, yeah, but how I explain it is we quite happily go to see a dentist once every 6 months or once every year to get a checkup, make sure everything's working well with our teeth. But I don't know anyone that's lost a friend or lost a family member or lost a loved one because they had a cavity they didn't realize they had. And yet, arguably, our brains are way more complex than our teeth, and
Yeah.
we don't do the same thing. And it's like someone else has said to me, it's basically just like PT for your brain.
Yeah, it's
It's just like,
preventative, isn't it? You
yeah.
know, it is. And obviously, like, it's just making me think
And
about
it's
teeth.
what,
I'm
like
thinking,
what
like,
you said earlier in terms of you struggling to reach out to your husband or whoever if you're having a hard time and struggling with something. I'm like, it's so much easier talking to someone who's disconnected from your life. You're not worrying about them judging you. You're not worrying about them worrying about you. Like, there's the people closest to you, I think their perspective can sometimes be a bit skewed, like not in a bad way, but just because they love you and they
Yeah.
care
yeah,
about you. Whereas having that person that is aside from everything, isn't biased in any particular way, and will 100% be honest with you,
mm,
is like so key. I find
yeah.
like it makes a huge difference.
And they've got tools, they've got techniques. I still
Yeah.
use techniques to this day. And you saying that, it's like we've said it again, like, oh, I need to start that back up again. And it's on that to-do list that I'm like, right, let me look into that again. Because you're right, it is, it's something that shouldn't go amiss. And even if you've got trauma or not, it should just be
Yeah.
that thing that you can rely on to make sure that you are steady in the ship. When it's going a little bit shaky, even if you don't think it is, you don't know what, if there's a storm around the corner, and having that already in place, or those tools already in place, you could tap into as and when you need them. But Luz, I reckon you should definitely have a think about this art therapy. That's totally you.
Yeah, it definitely is. And what I'm intrigued with as well, I mean, what does she help you understand about yourself that changed everything? Because I know you said it wasn't like fixing you, it's understanding. And I
Yeah.
know you said it's the why behind how you
Yeah.
think. And we always get told, like, the why. Think about the why in anything. If you're in a job role or you're doing sales, it's about the why. But obviously, she taught you that ambition and big goals aren't like a bad
Mm.
thing as
No.
long as you're honestly expecting the why. And I think this is
Yeah.
massive because, like, we all do this, don't we? It's like, why am I doing it? But sometimes I don't even know why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
pinpoint it, what has
And I
she
mean,
learnt you?
Give us
Yeah.
the
that's one of
technique.
the
Give us the technique so we can
Yeah.
take it away and
I
use
mean
it ourselves. We love a freebie on these podcasts.
and I mean, that's one of the key things, like everything you've spoken about so far. It's one that they've got the knowledge and the tools to be able to listen to what you're saying and help you figure out why exactly it is that you're reacting to things in this way. And it's, I think my key thing is honesty, that she's taught me is being completely honest with myself about how I'm feeling, what I'm refusing to feel, because it's like one of the instances of her just being brutally honest with me is like when I was talking to her about I've got a guy in my flat block that is a veteran, and I was talking to him and I said to her, I'm like, they're my favorite people to talk to about it. I love talking to the veterans about when they talk about my limb loss, because there's zero pity. Absolutely no
Yeah.
pity whatsoever. They're the first to congratulate you. They're the first to, when I'm out and about, when I was in my chair and when I upgraded to my new leg, and they were the first to tell me how great I was doing, but that it could be worse. I'm like, because they've pretty much all had friends that have had multiple limbs blown off. Like
Yeah.
the
Mm.
guy in my flat block, he was like, well, I've been stabbed in the back twice, I've been shot, I've been blown up. And I'm like, so it's actually a miracle you have all your limbs at this point. And he was like, yeah. And like my therapist turned around to me, she was like, yeah, Steph, that's because you're emotionally avoidant and they just let you not get into the like really emotional
Mm.
side of it. And I'm like, fine, fine, yes. It's probably why they're easier to talk to.
Is
But I
is
think
it
it's,
is it does she not say that it's good to have both though? Because I think that we were saying this earlier before we started recording, just having a chat, weren't we, saying that, sometimes we bring a bit of humour into the pod and,
yeah.
by all means, and you were saying, yeah, I'm like dark humour. Does she not say a bit of both is good though? Like have a bit of banter, but also tap into the emotions?
As long as it's balanced, I feel, and I think because I came into it very not balanced, like it's not entirely emotionally avoidant. As I said to her, it's like I'm very good with all the good stuff. Like I'm quite happy to tell people I love them when I do, and I'm very happy with that emotional side of things. But if there's emotions I really, really struggle with, I sometimes struggle to make myself sit with them. It's like whether it's like jealousy or sadness or anger, and really sit there and be like, where exactly is this coming from? Like, whether it's something from childhood, like how I was raised, like like, what is this? Like, why am I so uncomfortable about this? Um, and it's kind of taking that on. And also I found really struggled to pinpoint emotions. So if there was a certain event I was struggling with, she has a pack of cards which have loads of emotions on. If she turned to me and was like, right, how do you feel about this thing? I'd probably pick out one or two. And then so she'd get the cards out and show me. And so it was all the things like irritation, worry, anxiety, anger, like, and all the good ones as well. And by the end of it, we'd have about 15, 16. And just in my big storm of emotion, it was just one massive, like,
Mm.
I struggle to pick it all apart.
Yeah.
So I think she's just done a lot of work to help me kind of really understand my head, where it goes to. And I think she also likened it to a board table. So she, in terms of at work, so having it like a board table in my brain, and everybody has a seat around the table. And she was like, you have lots of very opposites, like, in it. So I've got the bit of me that massively needs rest, but then the bit of me that needs to constantly be on the go. And she was like, it's always just all of them shouting. And it's sometimes you have a tendency you can only hold one or the other. Like, I'll either be like holding the bit of me that is massively driven and needs to constantly be striving forward, or holding the bit of me that needs rest. And that's when I procrastinate until the last second and I can't get up and physically do the washing up or do anything. And I'm just frozen. She's like, it's about figuring out a way to hold both of them at the same time.
Yeah. It's a
And
good analogy. So I
yeah.
think everyone can picture that board table. Do you know what I mean?
It gets very loud at times with everybody screaming and trying to have
I'm
their voice heard. So it's trying to
I'm thinking of
bring a bit of
the traitors, though. That's the table I'm thinking of. And I'm thinking that's quite a good table to visualize, actually. And the therapist is Claudia. I think that's quite a good visualization for anyone to use. Think of the traitors table and think of all the emotions around it. And there's obviously lots of different characters in there anyway that could probably
just
represent
letting
an emotion.
everybody be heard and making sure that everyone is heard, even the quiet voices. Because I think, as I found, like, if one voice is ignored for too long, like, it gets to a point where it then has to shout so loudly that it kind of overtakes everything else. And that's when you kind of get into struggles, as it were.
Yeah. See, when you were saying that, I had like Inside Out in my head. I know
Yeah,
it's not.
yeah.
Like it is
Even my
because you've got
therapist was like,
anger,
"Have you watched
sadness.
that film?"
Do you know
And I'm like,
what? One of my friends, she's a counsellor, and she said the same to me. She's like, "You need to watch Inside Out."
And
She goes,
Lucy,
"That
that
is
would
the only way that you will
yes.
understand."
I was going to say that would totally suit you as well. Watch Inside Out and then get on with do some art therapy. Um, so just moving through this, then obviously, I think you've wonderfully explained to us like how we're at this stage right now. And I think one word that always gets like chucked around with people that have situations going on is that inspirational word. And I think we know you've got a little bit of disdain to it. So tell us, why do you hate being called inspirational?
it's it's a really hard one, and it's kind of my general struggle is I can always see both sides of something, and I get that a lot of the time when people call me or someone in a similar situation inspirational, it comes from a good place. But you'll find that if you look at a lot of disabled people's Instagram pages or whatever this is saying, like, publicly, it is generally like a very generalized reaction that people hate constantly being told they're inspirational or being used as inspiration porn, as it is normally referred to. And I think the big thing that seems really problematic with it is it just sometimes feels like people are lowering the bar for us because of our situation. Like, it's, oh, I haven't succeeded at something. I've just exceeded your expectations of what someone in my situation can do. Like, I did say this to a friend, not in like a aggressive way, but we were talking about it. I was like, do you tell all your friends that get out of bed and go to the gym in the morning that they're inspirational? And she was like, well, no. And I'm like, why not? Like, why? Like, this is just my life, like, and all of this. And it just sometimes feels like achievements are only framed as amazing because we're disabled. It's not technically amazing. It's just because you don't have a leg that it's like, well done. Well done for doing a thing. And it then stops being empowering. And it just makes us feel a little bit less competent or patronized in a way. Even if it's not necessarily what people mean to do, that's how it can sometimes feel a lot of the time. And it's like similar to the fact that like I've seen it so much online, like the amount of times people will know someone that's disabled and they're like, oh, so you gonna, if they do a sport, it's like, oh, you're gonna go to the Paralympics. I'm like, do you ask all your able-bodied friends that do sport if they go into the Olympics? I'm like, no, because like if I did, it'd be in years and years, because people still have to train for hours a day, 6 days a week for years to get to the Paralympics. Like it's kind of still that kind of view that so many people are still automatically instantly asking, oh, you'll be at the Paralympics next. I'm like, I'm still, let's guarantee that one.
I think as well, like Lucy, you must like resonate with this, and especially like, you know, you guys obviously were able-bodied, and now obviously something's happened to your leg and the foot. How does that feel? And what you just explained, I think you've explained it really, really great, actually. And you're making me think, and I'm sure other people think that, you know, throwing that word around is meant to be such a kind thing and such a motivating thing. Actually, you know, it's not. Like, how does it feel when you were able-bodied and now you're not, and then you get all these things thrown in? Like, explain, because obviously you guys are in a similar position with that, right?
Go on.
I'm intrigued.
I mean, for me, I think why it sometimes comes across as that is because, yes, obviously I'm in a different situation, but again, this is just my life. Like it's just I'm trying to do everything I did before. It's just I have to do it in a slightly different way. I have to be, yes, a bit more conscious of the fact that I can get tired quicker than I did on two legs, but it's, to me, it's just getting on with my life. Like it's just, I get up out of bed, I go to work, I go to the gym, and it's as exhausting as it was when I was on two legs. So it's just, it's different but same.
Yeah, and for me, it's more. I think I've had it in a different way, where I've had it a lot from like my sporting friends, and if anything, I wouldn't say it's the inspirational part, but a lot of them, when they tell me, it's not just like you're inspirational. It's like you're inspirational because now you've made me think not to take this for granted, or the fact that I've woke up a bit shit. It doesn't matter if I come in last today on this race. It's the fact that I can do this. So that's what I appreciate. Like I had it like in a fitness event, and it's like, yeah, do you know what I mean? So it's those kind of things where you're a bit like, okay, I'll accept that because that's made me feel better, that now you feel better that you can do this, you know what I mean?
Them on.
Yeah.
Although on the other side, I've had it the opposite way, in that I've had friends that have said they now feel a little bit worse about themselves because it's like, oh God, you've lost a leg and you're still getting up and going and training everybody. I'm like, no, you don't get to use me to beat yourself up.
Yeah.
And it's like, I always hate it when people do that. I'm like, it's kind of like, well, if you can do it, like, oh God. And I now have to feel awful that I'm not doing it. I'm like, no, you don't. We've just got different life and different goals and different outputs. It's like, I agree with what you said in terms of, if I'm going to be told I'm inspiring, it's like, I kind of do want it to be in a really positive way. Like I want to show other people in my situation that these things are possible. Like the best conversation I've had was with a woman in the co-op down my road, and she asked me if she could talk to me about it, and I said yes. And she was like, her son's just lost his leg. He was army, so lost his job as well, and was really struggling, and was my age. And it was just being able to tell her, and I could see the happiness on her face when I told her, I'm like, you can literally still do everything. Like I'm planning on doing surfing lessons this summer and figuring out how to surf again. I want to learn how to snowboard next year again. He can do literally everything
Yeah.
he could do on two legs.
It's like
He
the
just
skier,
figure out
isn't it?
way.
Have you seen this lady who was skiing recently,
Yeah,
and like how she's just come back and come back again? To me, that's like when you're inspirational. If you've had an injury, even an injury or a loss of limb or anything like that, that's when it comes like, I can do this too. That's just the kick up the
yeah.
arse that you
Yeah.
need. And it's like that when 'cause everyone has their down moments, you kind of think,
But
oh
you
my
can
God,
get
here we
back
go
up again.
again, or you get an
Yeah.
infection or something like this, and another wall
Yeah.
hits. It's like, no, just keep that mind. Because, I mean, we kind of went off a lit off tangent because a lot of our listeners won't even know what you're doing right now. Do you know what I mean? We've talked about your ambition, but tell us where your next goal has come from.
Well, it's one of those really weird fate moments where it just happened that when I got out of hospital, quite obviously just felt a bit broken. So all I wanted to do as soon as I got home was find a PT. Not a PT, sorry. That's my brain gone. I just wanted to find a physio. Um, for a sports massage. I'm like, I just desperately need a massage right now, a proper one. Found a guy in Portishead where I live, and went and saw him. And I remember him just saying to me, like talking to me about what I wanted to do still. And I was like, I really want to get back on my bike because I loved it. It was freedom to me when I was on two legs. I desperately want to get back on it when now I'm on one. And he was like, oh, funny you should mention that. I also treat a professional paracyclist. I'll put you in contact. And I'm like,
Amazing.
oh. So he put me in contact with Will Bjergfeldt. And so we got chatting. He explained like what had happened to him, his accident, and what he'd been doing racing wise. And then it kind of he put me in contact with British Cycling. So I then went up to Manchester in November it's like their talent ID testing session. For me, it was just more of a taster to get into it, get on the track. Because again, it was one of those where I was like, oh, I'm too old to do anything interesting with cycling, so I won't. I kind of want to get in the velodrome, but I have plenty of time because I'm not doing anything with it. Never got round to it. Then for some reason, I was on one leg and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's give this a go. So got in the velodrome, absolutely adored it. And then kind of it just went off from there, to the point where I think one of the things that really kind of kickstarted it was I wanted to do something to raise money, for Calm, which is a suicide awareness charity. And they do a lot of incredible work, and also for the hospital. Was looking for things to do. Found on my birthday there's like a 75-mile sportive in the Isle of Wight. Booked that, and then I'm like, oh, okay, now I should probably definitely get some proper training in. And spoke to Will. He's now coaching me. And I'm doing another. So I've got that in July, which is like the long bike ride, which I've got friends, my mum doing with me as well, which will be lovely, to raise money. But then I've also got a few actual races booked in. And I've got a couple of road races booked in, and I'm going to go back up to do some more testing with British Cycling end of June, just to see where I am in comparison to November, see what they think of the numbers that come out. It's a lot planned
Amazing.
this year now, and
I
it's all
know.
just taken off. And I'm like, oh, it's not just talking about it now.
It's
You're starting it
going,
now,
yeah.
yeah.
Because you are considered an athlete now, correct? Is that?
I mean, it's always one of those where it's one of those I'm like, oh, can I label myself? I'm like, you know what? Yes, I'm
Yeah.
going to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's as I said like earlier on today, it's just about putting everything I can into it. And I think the great thing about talking to Will as well is when I said to him, it's like, well, I'm too old to do anything like racing properly. And he's like, no, you're not. Like he's
Yeah.
47 and still racing. So
Mm.
it's like, you've got a good decade still left
Yeah.
or
And
so.
can I just ask, obviously, if anyone's listening who might have gone for an amputee, when was it, say, what date was it when you had your leg amputated, and how long has that recovery been, if
Yeah.
that makes
Um,
sense?
so I had it amputated 23rd of May. It's one of those dates that ends up like burnt onto your brain.
I know,
Um,
30th of June 2024 as well.
I will never forget that date. So 23rd of May, I lost my leg. Got out of hospital 19th of June.
And what year was that, sorry?
Last year.
Oh, so yeah, it's only
Wow.
It was last year.
Oh
I
my
got
God, it's not even a year yet.
yeah.
not even a year. It's a
Oh,
year
Steph, I don't want to use the word
next month.
inspirational, but oh my God.
And then I got my leg in August. But it's just
Wow.
like the people I've met in that time, it's like incredible. Um, I'm actually gonna see if I can take this off my wall. But one thing we did at work at the start, we started doing craft nights. Like if me and a few of the other girls do like monthly craft night, and we did like mood boards for the
Oh,
year at the start of this
Yes,
year.
love
And there was
it.
definitely like a lot of like cycling that happened
Love
on this
it.
run
Got to
this
manifestate. Like
year.
we literally love manifestation.
Now it's in front of my
Literally.
face every time I'm
Yeah.
working from home. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, gotta tick this off, down to learning to walk in heels again on a prosthetic.
Yeah,
So
I'm with you on that one.
Yes, it means you can resonate. Well, I think this is just the perfect time to say, after everything that you've shared with us, who is Steph becoming now?
that's always the hardest question. I think
Ah,
I genuinely just trying to actively build a life I enjoy for me, not based on what I think other people want me to do or be, um, but genuinely focus on what I feel is important, what really kind of lights a fire inside me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'd say I am gonna go ahead and say I'm like an athlete and seeing how far I
Yeah.
can push myself. Like I genuinely just want to see what I'm capable of and prove to myself that I am capable of a lot of things. I think previous to this, when I was going through everything I did, I had a habit of setting a big goal and then at the slightest instant, I'd kind of find a reason to not go ahead with it because I think in my head I didn't think I was good enough to do it
Mm.
or I wasn't capable of it. Whereas now I'm just like, you know what? No, like I definitely am. And I'm just hell bent on proving to myself what I am capable of and sticking with it. I think this is one of the good things about cycling, especially if you want to race. You have to believe in yourself, or there's no point even starting. Like if you don't believe in yourself when you do it, like you're not gonna achieve everything. So the confidence and the self-belief just have to be there. So it's
Yeah.
kind of forcing me to do the things that I've struggled with historically.
Yeah. It's giving
Um,
you a second chance, isn't it? Literally, you
yeah,
referenced it earlier. Like this whole situation, you're here now, and you're having a second chance at life, and you are going for it, and you were doing everything that you were scared of doing before.
yeah,
You're like putting everything into it, and you're only going to just go and have a great rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no going back now. And in like less than a year, it's just incredible. And I think your story is going to definitely, resonate with people, whether it's mentally, physically, goal setting, achieving things, and making sure it's not at that level where you push yourself that hard that you end up
yeah.
obviously in a mental health situation that we spoke about earlier. It's just amazing. And obviously you're doing these things for the charities that you said. So we'll put all the links and whatnot in the bio and the captions so people can donate if they want to support you. But I just think, thank you so much for sharing your incredible story with us. Like, it's just been amazing to listen to. So thank you.
no, and thank you for offering me the chance to talk about it. I think my main goal and one of the things I really want to work on this year as well is kind of giving the story a bit more like space online, etc. Just because, as we said before, I think hearing more stories like mine, it can help people in the same situation. I know
Mhm.
for well, if when I was in hospital or when I came out of hospital, I'd seen more instances of people like going through limb loss or other big trauma because of a mental health, it would have made me feel so much less lonely. Like, as I said, I'm lucky I have a great support network, but it still feels super lonely when, like people don't quite know exactly how it felt.
Mm.
And there
Have you
can
managed to
be,
speak to anybody on who's gone through it as well?
no, I haven't
No, no.
currently. I've, there's one person actually I saw recently that I want to reach out to and talk to. As I said, it's like whilst I was in ICU, I know there was another man in ICU. My mum was speaking to his wife. Um, in the waiting room, but he had lost a leg due to a mental health related incident. Um, so it does happen,
Mm.
Yeah.
and it's
The same hospital and the same
yeah, and
ward.
I think there's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
certain yeah, exactly, tiny world.
Yeah.
And I think there's still a feeling of shame, like people are talking a lot more about mental health, but in these kind of situations, I still think it's really hard for people to feel like there's a way for them to talk about it and other people that understand it. Because it almost feels it's kind of hard when you come out of it and feel like it kind of is self-inflicted. It's not just this illness or disease or accident that's happened to me. Like like this is as a result of something I did. And I
Because you were
think people,
struggling though,
yeah,
like, you know,
yeah,
I
100%. But I
yeah,
think people still struggle with that, and they'd struggle with it being public. Like, as I said, when I
yeah.
posted about it for the first time, I felt physically sick that people were going to see that was the reason. Even just mentioning the word suicide, I'm like, oh shit, like that
You're
word in
like
itself is
pioneering
like,
this though. Like you know, you are making an even braver step by literally putting yourself out there and being one of the first people to link mental health with loss of limb, with suicide attempts, you know. I think you're so brave. You're literally kind of pioneering this, which is amazing. And I'm sure charities such as the Samaritans and things like that will have other instances where obviously they can't release any names and whatnot. But
uh,
hopefully this is the start of something, and you can keep going on and doing bigger, better things to raise awareness, because this is, you know, a really great way to do it. And yeah, you're so brave. So thank
I think
you.
if I could have had like me now reach out to me when I got out of hospital and go, it's
Yeah.
like, it is actually possible to figure your brain out and get it like
And that is the beauty
controllable
of
to a certain
social media,
degree.
though, as well. It's like when I had my accident, I had loads of great people who have gone. I mean, it's obviously more common. You don't reach out to me, and it helps so much more. And to hear it from them and how they adapted. Like I was like
And I
rowing with
think
a
even like
skateboard. You know what I mean? And all these
from
kind of things and different ideas. It's not all doom and gloom. It's like, oh, we feel. Oh, we hope you're okay.
I've
And
had
we're
people
thinking of
reach
you.
out that they might not have like lost a limb or had something like that, but I've had people that I've known previously, not well, but I've only spoken to them a couple of times, but then reached out and said they've been really struggling with their mental health. And like
Mm,
I've gone for coffee with a couple of people from that.
Amazing.
Um
Well, this
just
is what the pod's
because it's
about.
like giving someone a safe space to be
Yeah,
like, you know what, I've really fucking struggled with my head recently as well. And it's nice to talk to someone else that
yeah,
kind of understands. Like there's no, it's not having someone that pities you. It's, I think I've read it put really nicely. It's just someone that's willing to sit there with you whilst you're kind of in that place
yes,
without trying to make it better, without trying to fix everything. But it's like, I get what you're feeling, and I'm just kind of going to sit here with you
yeah,
until you figure out what you kind of need from it. But
yeah.
it's something that people kind of felt safe to reach out and say they were struggling, just kind of meant everything.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that automatically is then going to give you that motivation to keep going. And this is what the pod's about, right, Luce? But this
mm.
is, we just, if it can help one person, that's what we always say for any episode. And we're so lucky to have incredible guests that are willing to come on and talk, because without that, we wouldn't have a podcast. And everything we do talk about, we're just hoping that one person might listen and finally kind of go, okay, wow, I feel so much better now because there's other people going through it, or that really hit today, that really
Yeah. Or even
resonated, you
just
know?
taking any part. It might even not
Yeah,
be they've gone
Yeah.
through that or amputation. Like for me, I always try and sit with the why, but I'm really going to figure out this why for
mm,
me. Do you know what I mean? Because I always try and tap into it, but it's like why do I want to do it? Not what anybody else is doing, what the world thinks. Like, why do
Yeah.
I want to do this today?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like I
No,
say, if
for
this
sure.
episode can resonate with anyone who's listening, share it with someone who needs it. I think we've made it very clear.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, stories like this can basically, well, they can change how you think and obviously and change the world
Yeah, I
that
think
we're in.
as people in general, we're so guilty of thinking of ourselves in silos. Like if you're struggling with something like a particular mental health aspect, it's so easy to sit there and go, oh, I'm kind of on my own. No one else is
Yeah.
struggling with this. I'm just being shit at dealing with life, basically. I don't know, like I'm not dealing with this well. And then it's like, oh wait, no, this is actually a really normal thing. There are a lot of
So
people
common.
that have gone through the exact same thing. They understand it's not a bad thing. It's not something to be ashamed about. It's just, it's a
Life.
mix. It's life.
Life
But it
is
is.
life in, guys. Life is life. It's a phrase that I keep using recently because it just makes things feel better. And do you know what? I think
Mine's Monday is
overall,
Mondaying.
yeah, literally.
Mondaying.
And overall, life is great, right? And that's what I have to remind myself of. Life is great, but life can be life in and it can get on top of us. And sometimes you have to like ground yourself again and remind yourself of that. But sometimes it's okay to tap into the feelings of feeling frustrated or angry or pissed off or overwhelmed. Just tap into them, because the quicker you do that, the quicker you'll be able to get yourself back on the other side of things and go, right, okay, I had that moment. What can I do to make myself feel better? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yes, it's been an amazing chat. Thank you so much. I would just like to point out for anyone that's watching that I'm stood in the weirdest position. I'm like bent over, like not like that, but I'm like crouched. I'm sorry, Steph and Lucy. I didn't say anything. I
No,
just
I saw
moved.
something going on in the background.
So I'm trying to mix up how I'm doing these pods because I'm on my phone, and then my phone ran out of battery and it was like beeping at me. So I just sort of like got up and I like crabbed along to like the side to plug my phone in.
Did you
Didn't
not
say
read the
anything.
All You Need to Know email, Hannah?
No, I know all of that. I'm
Charge
normally
your
on the
phone. Have your
laptop.
phone charged.
I
Have
hacked
it
my phone
plugged
and I'm
in.
normally on my laptop. I've changed to my phone and it's not working very well. But yeah,
Life
I was
is
like,
lifing.
life is
Bloody
life,
life.
literally. And I was like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to move. And then I'm stood here and I'm like, my God, I need a frigging thought therapist massage after this. So for anyone that is watching, I'm so sorry, but I thought it was better just to do that rather than be like, hang on a minute, phone's going. What it's taught me, that is go back on my frigging laptop. That's what it's taught me. So anyway, apologies, Steph. Sorry, Luce. We're here. Life is life, and let's leave it at that. That's going to go in
and
the
on
bio.
that, I was going to say a goodbye from me
Goodbye from me.
and our guest.
And thank you
Steph.
so much, ladies, for having me. It's been incredible, honestly.
Our pleasure.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and for anybody else, remember to like, subscribe, and we can get a lot more amazing guests like Steph on, like we've had today. So yeah, bye.